Kia ora koutou katoa, nau mai hara mai ki te ao Hākinakina, your sports show right here on your Tribal Pulse, Te Kore Mako o Taranaki, 94.8 FM and 98.4 FM. Well, she is a driven and talented athlete whose journey from touch rugby to rugby league showcases her resilience, her loyalty and her deep whānau ties. After studying sports leadership and excelling in touch, she transitioned into rugby league and excelled in rugby league, quickly rising to represent Auckland, New Zealand Māori and the Kiwi Ferns. Known for her hard work ethic on and off the field, she has a balanced sporting career with key community roles that she's held over many, many years. And we're very lucky and fortunate to have her on the show this week. No mai, hara mai, Stacey O'Carroll-Makiri, kia ora.
Tēnā koe ngā hina, ngā mihi o te karanga I te rānei, e te whānau tēnā koutou. Ai, ko Stacey O'Carroll-Makiri ahau.
Kia ora, Stace. Good to have you on the show. Been looking forward to catching up with you and hearing about your amazing journey in sports. But obviously, before we get started, ko wai koe no he koe, just a bit about yourself and where you're from.
Ko wai au. I te taho o tōku pāpā, he uri o Taranaki. I te taho o tōku māma, he uri o Tapuika. So born and raised in South Auckland. And on my dad's side, I whakapapatu ole our northern Taranaki iwi. Ngāti Tama, Ngāti Mutinga, Otarawa, Te Atiawa. And on my mum's side, I whakapapatu Tapuika and Ngāti Pukenga. It's in the Te Arawa region.
Beautiful, beautiful. Good to make those connections, those hononga. Now, as a youngster, what sports did you play? Like, what was it like? We're going to talk about rugby league and that soon, but was it always rugby league, or was there other sports that you played in and around, your community that you were raised in?
Yeah, to be fair, I'd say that it was probably bull rush, hide and seek, all those games that started it all off. And then I graduated into actual sports, playing netball. And I didn't actually take the field until I was much older. I mean, apart from backyard rugby league, backyard footy, or footy on the side of a footy game that was happening that I was supposed to be watching, or while I was watching uncles play, there was footy happening up on the field on that big hill in Carlaw Park. But growing up, so all those backyard sports or park sports, whānau sports, and then I started in netball. That carried over from New Zealand. I started a youngster, then over into Australia, got quite heavily involved in netball and in that rep space as well. And then I tried my hand at touch rugby, and I actually fell in love with touch, and I thought I'd found my code. All those skills I'd built up playing the cuzzies in bull rush and backyard footy, they came in handy when I took the field with touch. But then as an adult, I went and started playing rugby league. So I made the transition from touch rugby to league. I think I was about 18 or 19 at the time.
Oh, you're talking about that transition from touch to rugby league. Like what inspired the switch? Like you said, you found your love, for touch, but what inspired the switch to rugby league?
Yeah, there's probably a couple of things. The first thing being that league, that was ingrained from a very young age. I was involved in it for as long as I can remember. If I wasn't playing backyard footy, I was watching whānau play. Then I met my wife of 27 years, and I think it was her. She said to me, "Gee, you should come and play women's league." And at the time, I was like, "Hey, no," I was a little bit chicken, to be honest. But no, I'll stick to touch. I know it well. But yeah, she took me over to rugby league, and the club that she took me to, I actually knew the whānau very well, and they'd coached me coming up through school and in the Auckland rep space and touch. So yeah, that was the beginning of my professional rugby league journey.
Wow. And you mentioned there earlier around your whānau and, how they're obviously rugby league whānau. But what role did they play in shaping your sporting career? They're obviously a very well-known, well-respected whānau in the rugby league circles. And what part did they play in this journey?
Yeah, I can't remember a time actually in my life where rugby league hasn't been a part of it. So yeah, you talked about I've got uncles, multiple generations actually of league players in my whānau, not just my mum's side, but also on my dad's side. So, you know, I remember watching my uncles growing up playing for the Kiwis. I got uncles that played or represented the New Zealand Māoris. I got cousins that were junior Kiwis and a great uncle that was a Kiwi as well. So across multiple generations, we've got players, but not just players. We've got coaches at a national level, administrators of the game, managers of the game, board members. My grandmother, I think about my grandmother, and she was one of the first women to be inducted on the New Zealand Rugby League board. So it's not just not just players, not just the playing talent in the whānau. It goes across just about every role you can think of within league. So yeah, lots of time spent on the sidelines, in board meetings and committee meetings at club rooms. So it was just a part of your life. You didn't think of it any other way.
And it continues today. You're carrying on the mantle of the whānau, eh?
Yeah,
It,
that's right. It's hard to get away from it. It's kind of contagious. Once you're a part of the community, it's always the opportunity to give back to the community, to add value to the community. It doesn't matter if you think you're going to step out for a while. That's not how it works.
100%, 100%. Now, you mentioned the club earlier. Now, I think you're talking about as a Richmond Rovers, but obviously, how did it feel to be so warmly kind of welcomed in by the Richmond Rovers, and what did that moment mean to you?
Yeah, that was pretty amazing actually, because like I said, Kirst, my wife, she said to me, she was like, "Oh, come, we'll go and check out Richmond Rovers," because she'd had connections in that space, and she'd been playing women's league for a while, and she took me over there, and I was straight away. I knew our coach, Mr. Ngawati, Barry Ngawati, one of the best coaches I've ever had in any sporting codes. And his daughters were a huge part of the club as well. But just a really embracing club. I was only a youngster, I think I was 18 or 19 at the time, and they just really embraced me, made me feel a part of the whānau, as you do when you kind of enter into that league space. It's all embracing. Yeah, and I learnt some great skills and had some great experiences through that club.
Well, you definitely did, because you went on to represent Auckland, Auckland Māori, New Zealand Māori, and the Kiwi Ferns. So, what was this experience like, for you, and what was it like representing, your nation at the World Cup, and, especially playing in unfamiliar positions?
Yeah, it was a quick rise. So I think I started my first year. I started playing women's league for Richmond Rovers. I think I'd probably had about 5 club games under my belt before I was invited to an Auckland trial and made the Auckland team. Then in that same year, I trialled for an Auckland Māori team, um, made the New Zealand Māori team after the first national Māori tournament that I attended. So it was all very quick, that rise into those higher teams. But being a youngster, I was quite open to all learnings really, and just took everything as it come.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, make sure to stay tuned with us, whānau. We're going to go to a quick break now and be back to Kōrero more with Stacey O'Carroll-Makiri about her marvellous journey in the sport of rugby league. Welcome back, whānau. Welcome back to Te Ao Hākinakina, your sports show right here on your Tribal Pulse, Te Kore Mako o Taranaki 94.8 FM and 98.4 FM. Now, we're having an awesome kōrero here with Stace. Now, we're having to talk about, you're representing the Kiwi Ferns, Auckland, New Zealand Māori. But during this time, how did you manage, how did you balance your mahi and your sporting commitments, and what kept you motivated?
Yeah, you just did it. You just did it. There was no other option. If you wanted to be a part of it, you still needed to make a living. So, it was work at the time. I think I was working 12-hour shifts, 4 days on, 4 days off. So it was 12 hours of work, and any opportunity I had to kind of duck out, and this happened quite a bit actually. I'd duck out on a lunch break, go and play a game of footy, and return back to work. Every penny that I kind of made, if I had a campaign coming up, I was saving to attend that campaign, to be a part of that. And you just did it. You just got on with it.
Love it. Well, you definitely got on with it because after your playing career too, you've also been heavily involved with the, rugby league and other spaces with clubs. Now, one in particular, the Inglewood Seagulls Rugby League Club, obviously have a proud history. However, after many years, of being dormant, you're an integral part of the club coming back to life. And what was this journey like for you? And what are some of the fruits that you've seen from that journey with this awesome little club from Inglewood?
Yeah, that was a really neat journey, our Inglewood Sea Eagles. The opportunity to start that club up stemmed from our son, really, from Ivan Ray, wanting to give him the opportunity to play and to build a league community that he could be a part of. Now, obviously, we had our whānau club in Waitara. Um, we're close enough to Bow Block, and we're close enough to Western Suburbs as well. But he was immersed in our Inglewood community. He attended daycare there. He built a friend group. So it felt quite natural to then, reopen the club up and see what came of that. And some amazing friendships and relationships did stem from that. And I think we've consistently been talking about communities and rugby league and how they tie together. So that's exactly what came of that. We started up the club, we built a community, we become a part of a community. People came in, and our whānau continued to grow. And along the way, we got to plant seeds into into the young talent that come through our club.
100%. And there's some awesome young talent that's come through that club and now gone on to bigger and brighter things and doing some really awesome stuff. Now, can you share more about your time studying in telecommunications and how that kind of shaped your career outside of sport?
Yeah, that was very early. Telecommunications was very early in the piece. I think I left. I did that sport leadership course, and I just saw an advert and took the opportunity to apply. I had no idea what it was really about, but it sounded really interesting. So I spent, I think, about a year and a half doing some electrical studies, and then specialised in telecommunications. Picked up an apprenticeship, and before you know it, I was climbing power poles to fix overhead lines and whatnot, and underground cutovers and all sorts. So along the way, you build resilience. It was uncomfortable. It was a space I wasn't familiar with, but you rise and you lean into it. And I think when I look back on that, those are things that help shape me today, as have the experiences I've had growing up.
100%, 100%. Now you mentioned the word leadership. Now you've held various leadership roles within the Māori health and wellbeing space, Māori housing
Mm.
solutions. The care for our queer with Māori Women's Welfare League. Like, how has your sporting journey helped shape you and the way in which these things, how you work within these spaces?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, because we go through school, carry on, and we complete these studies, and that's all great and lovely. But the real skill set comes from, well, I attribute to my sporting career, to coming up through playing sports as a young kid, being a part of a team, knowing how to both follow and lead. So yeah, I attribute a lot of my leadership today, in my professional career, to my experiences through sport.
Love it, love it, love it. Sport's such a powerful tool, whānau. Now, you're still involved with various sporting groups. You got the Te Atiawa Wahine sides coming up soon, the Taranaki Whānui tournament, the Stars Rugby League Academy. What keeps you engaged and motivated to continue to support the sport that you love?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier. Doesn't matter if you try and tap out. There's no tapping out once you're a part of the code, the community, and the whānau. So to be honest, it's probably my wife that keeps dragging me back in. There's her that who any opportunity she really immerses herself in those coaching spaces, and in any space to uplift our rangatahi. So I'm there with her. There's also the drive from knowing how much my whānau, but in particular my grandmother, invested in the game, invested in the sport. So yeah, those things keep me motivated. Also seeing our tamariki come up with so much talent and growing and evolving, not just in our code, but in places and spaces and all sorts of things. That keeps pulling you back.
Love it, love it. Now, what lessons did you learn from, some of your earlier challenges in league? Like injuries, or whether there's selection stuff, or what were some of those kind of real lessons that you learned?
To look after yourself, really. Nobody's made of stone. We all break, we all ache. So it was to look after myself during those periods where I was playing. If there was injuries, that rest and recovery. I was surrounded by lots of supports and some really good advice. So I took that on board. And there's always knowledge out there and support and advice to help keep you on the right track. And yeah, I made the most of that.
Some great advice there, whānau, for our listeners at home. Now, lastly, looking back on your career, what advice would you give to a young wahine wanting to pursue, a sport, whether it be rugby league or another sport, but wanting to pursue her sport at a highest level?
Yeah, I'd say be patient. Be patient, continue to have fun, be consistent and keep showing up. And along the way, be kind to yourself, because at the end of the day, it's not a race and you really do need to enjoy the journey.
Beautiful. Be kind to yourself. Very important part of sports, whānau. Don't beat yourself up if you miss a tackle or you don't score a try, and just be kind to yourself. Beautiful, Stacey. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you on the show, to have you on the show, and to hear of your amazing journey through the great game of rugby league, but also touch and netball and all those other sports that you played as well. Keep up the awesome mahi that you do, and the wairua in which you do your mahi is felt by many. So thanks again for coming on the show.
Ka pai, kia ora.